Okay, next question. So February, I just read, was a 13-year high for home sales. So obviously that changed pretty quickly. So are people still buying and selling homes in your market and doing loan applications? Did the valve shut off abruptly in your market, or update us on what's happening in your market and with your business? Romeo, let's start with you.
I think there's been so much pent up demand here in the Austin area. Prior to everything happening, I mean, we were running, at about 1.6 months of inventory. So there was a lot of pent up demand. And then of course, you factor in the very, very low mortgage rates. So there is definitely a slowdown in the number of people that are buying, obviously, for safety reasons, and rightly so. But I think there's a lot of buyers who traditionally were losing out in multiple offer situations, that for them, all of a sudden they're finding that they're not having to compete with as many buyers out there. So if a buyer is looking in a specific neighborhood area, knows the details about that, and a home comes on the market, even if they are very cautious and are going to do everything virtually, a lot of buyers are making the purchase or offering, because knowing that they're not competing with as many buyers. So, I think in general, I mean, we're definitely seeing a slowdown, and we are seeing a lot longer escrow periods as well, because appraisers are having a hard time getting in. Inspectors are also, and because all these different industries, third parties, have their own policies in place, and some of them have chosen to put a pause on their business as well. But I think we're still going to see an active market. It's not going to be where we were last year. It is going to, we are going to see some inventory not come on the market because sellers are waiting to put their home on the market because they themselves don't know what their status is going to be with their job. But I think, again, there's been so much pent up demand here in the Austin area that investors and first time home buyers, they're seeing that they can actually compete right now.
Yeah. Max.
Kind of the same thing that Romeo's seeing. We still have a lot of contracts coming in. We still have people getting pre-qualified. Seems like maybe it slowed up just a tad this week on some applications, but not much. People are still going under contract. Some people are backing out and nervous, but for the most part, it's just kind of still going. How that continues as we get deeper and deeper into this is yet to be seen. But right now it really hasn't slowed all that much.
Right, Ron.
Really the same. I mean, we've seen it. It's really very busy. Obviously, apps have slowed down a little bit from the purchase side, and the refi side has obviously taken off. Of last few weeks, but. Really, I think what's going to happen, I think April's probably still going to be pretty productive, and March, I think, was record-breaking for probably most people on this call. It's really the unknown of March, June, July. How long are people going to be at home? How long are kids not going to go to school? And then the furloughs and the layoffs. I think that's what it's going to boil down to. We're a national company, so we're all over the country, and some states and cities have been hit harder than Texas and Houston, where I'm located. And so I think that's going to be the unknown is really what, is there's a fear factor there. And I agree with what Chris said earlier. We need to really communicate that and have them not as fearful and maybe show more benefits on why, as Romeo mentioned, why it's still okay to do it. It's a buyer's market or whatever the other reasons are. But I do think there's going to be a lot less people that qualify, a lot less, products to offer. There's going to be some slippery slopes in the summer, in my opinion. And so I think it's still a good market today. There are people, like Max said, backing out, but it's a very small percentage right now. But I think there's going to be a lot less that qualify. And if the numbers come to fruition and it's 30% unemployment in a couple months from now, that's a pretty big number. And so I think you're going to see a very big slowdown in purchases, in the summer months. But again, I don't know for sure.
Chris, thank you.
Yeah, we're doing both commercial and residential, and so I've been monitoring both here. Just like Romeo said, in Austin, there's been pent-up demand. Houston has had very low inventory, and I think that's very, very good for us. I think you know, this is going to affect us. We've seen probably a 20 to 30% slowdown in the number of showings, the number of properties going under contract in the last couple of weeks. I think it's going to be more over the course of April. And but I think it's going to turn around very quickly in June and July. And the fourth quarter, I think, is going to be very strong because you're going to have all those people who decided to wait, coupled with coming back into the market, coupled with the people who are already going to be prepared in those times. So you're going to see a big surge in demand, though I believe it will be affected by like what Ron said, the furloughs and the layoffs. I think you're going to see some legislative input there to continue to keep the housing market strong. On the commercial side, we've seen a lot of deals back out because that's basically investment, and people are holding off on doing things that they would have done before. We've had a bunch of retail and hospitality, hotel slowdown. I've had just personally 7 contracts back off in the retail and hotel market, about $30 million worth in the last 2 weeks that would have closed in
Ouch.
April. So I believe you're going to see a major hit in retail and hospitality, but I think the federal government is providing some relief there with the CARES Act. So the slowdown is definitely happening, but not too much on the residential side.
Thank you. Eric, how many terminations or?
Very few. What we've seen is that the pipe continues to fill up, as everybody said. Applications are still coming in. Obviously, the refinance deals are much more voluminous right now, but people are still entering into contracts, and we are still receiving them in. The output is definitely where we've seen the slowdown. The pipeline is there, the hose is fat, and they're just coming out a little bit slower than they would typically. I think Romeo mentioned it earlier. Is that, just the lead time in escrow is expanded. There's just natural extensions being put into place, and people are much more willing and apt to sign off, understanding the circumstances. But things are continuing to press forward towards the closing table. That's all we can continue to do. There's a lot of unknown, but we just keep pushing forward.
Thank you.